Hello and welcome to my channel, Coding with Zach. Previously we learned how to use dictionaries, and we used this dictionary to build out this rock, paper, scissors game. We also put in a while loop that let us continuously play the rock, paper, scissors game until we type in the word stop. Today we're going to be covering functions, and we'll turn a portion of this code into a function, and we'll go over exactly what functions are used for. To get started with functions, I'm going to write a simple function that takes in a number and returns double of it. And the way I'm going to do this is by creating a new file. We'll say double number.py. We will take in input and set that equal to user input equal. And then the function is written as def double num, which the double num that I just typed out could be any name that you give it, just something that correlates with what the function is doing and is easy to remember. Double num, we're going to take in user number, and we'll return user number times 2. We'll have to cast this to an int. A function is just like a subroutine, and it is something you write out to call later in your program, so all your code is not in one place, and this way you can break your code into little bits of subroutines that is easier to work with than just lines and lines of code. So now I would call the function double num and pass it in user input. And to be able to see anything, we're going to have to print this out. So what this function is doing, it is taking in a user number, which in this case is the variable user input we created up here, and then this return statement just says return this line of code. So what it's doing is I'm casting this number to an integer and multiplying by 2. So if this user number was 2, the output would be 4. And this doesn't print anything out because this specifically just returns the value. That's why I had to put this in a print. So to check this, we'll open up the command prompt. We'll change the directory to the directory that this Python program is in, and we will do this with cd desktop scripts Python. So double number.py, we'll say 2, 4, double number.py, 6, 12. Working as expected. I'm going to come over here and backspace out this print, and I'm going to set a variable, say output var equals this value, and we will run this again. And you see, because I don't have a print statement, it's not printing out any of the information. And even if it was just calling the function, I think I accidentally typed in something wrong. Even if you just have the function called, it's not returning any value out to the command prompt because we're not printing it out. But what we can do is say output var equals this, and we can print output var, and then we're going to print output var times 2. So you can see it doubled 8 from the function, and then I double it again with the print function. And this is just showing that this function is returning that value, and we're setting that value that gets returned to the output variables or output var variable name, and then we can manipulate the data the way we want with that. Now another way to do this, if you know that you're wanting to print out the data, and instead of return a value, you could just print the value right here. See, now when we call the value is printed because the print was in the function. So we're done with this. I'm going to go back to rps.py, close this, and now we're going to work on creating a function for a portion of this code. So what I want the function to be is just the if-else statements, which is pretty much all of this. So we'll cut this out, and I'm going to say def, we'll say RPS function. We're going to take in user num, and we'll keep the variable names the same, user input and computer number. This will keep me from having to rename any of the variables inside. So whatever variables you use here to pass into your function, that is the variables you'll have to use inside. So if I'd use user num, then this user input would have to switch to user num. But to avoid this, I'm just going to keep it the same. Save this, and then in the while loop, I am going to call RPS function. And then we're going to pass in computer number and user, oh, sorry, I did that backwards. User input and computer number. And we can say rps.py. We'll say rock. And unbound local variable before an assignment. Okay, and this issue is because I didn't set the local variable equal to the global variable. And what I mean by local variable is that the computer number here is local to the function, so it's like we are calling it without setting it equal to anything. And to get around this, we're just going to say global computer counter and global user counter. We'll come back up here, type in rps.py, rock, and it's working as expected. Game was a tie, the input was scissors, computer has 1-1, and the user has 1-1. The computer won, so yes, this is incrementing like we want, and the clean thing to this is that the RPS function doesn't get executed until this block of code, and it continuously iterates until we type in stop. So I'll go back, type in stop, and the game is finished. But functions are used to break up huge portions of code that are just line by line that's kind of hard to read into easily to read chunks of code that you can call within your main while loop or whatever you're wanting to call it in. Next, we will cover Python classes and object-oriented programming. If you like this content, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.